I genuinely hope that you had a great Father's Day. I hope you had a great Monday. But let me tell you this. You did not have as good as a Monday as the Arkansas faithful. More importantly, you did not have as good as a Monday as Gage Wood, who just made college baseball history. So welcome on into the Overtime Drive. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. We're going to talk about what we saw during today's matinee between Arkansas and Murray State. We got more week one previews to go through, and we got to break down South Carolina's schedule, plus a couple of other things. But if you're new here, welcome on into the channel. If you've been here before, make sure you tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, and college football aficionados everywhere about this place as we talk the sport that we love on Saturdays every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials at SEC Unfiltered, at Dave Shumate SEC, at Mr. Cole Thompson. And check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, if you want to throw some money down, do so with our friends over at FanDuel, the proud sponsor right here at SEC Unfiltered. Go to FanDuel.com/SECU. Sign it up. Win $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So whether you're banking on the Stanley Cup playoffs, going to a Game 7, you're hoping that Indiana, or maybe we will see Oklahoma City take a 3-2 lead tonight and eventually hoist up the title in Game 6. Or you want to bet on Arkansas and LSU to find a way to make this the most exciting College World Series ever, do so by going over to FanDuel.com/SECU. Sign up today. $5 first bet. Win $250 in bonus bets. Schusters, how the hell are you?
Bear, it's that time of year. We're on the cusp of it. It's the worst time of year for sports.
It is
just a die-hard Major League Baseball fan, which I know you got to cover the Astros, but even – there's so many games that are played. I just don't know how you can live and die with every one of them. I mean, your team loses 60 games. That's a really good year, but that's 60 times, a lot of times to go home upset at your team at night, Bear. But no, College World Series. We got another week, thankfully. You mentioned NBA playoffs, Game 5. Bear, I still think the Thunder pull it out.
I know.
We're right there. We're almost there. We got to take these last few sporting events here. You got golf if you're into that all the time. I just can't watch every golf tournament, but no. So we got to take it, Bear, and then it's essentially turn the page to it's football season.
Here's the reason why I'm pulling for the one and only Oklahoma City, because they have fans in the SEC. That's it. If anything else, I think Tyrese Halliburton's been awesome in this series, and I really would love to see Indiana.
There's a big time Kentucky fan base in Indy.
Oh yeah, 100% there is. And you want to know what? SGA. The star player for Oklahoma City. Where did he go to school? I think I rest my case there. So, like, review, hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all social channels at SEC Unfiltered. We are breaking down tonight week one matchups between LSU and Clemson and a Friday night spectacle to kick off the SEC. The first major game in the SEC. Out in Waco, Texas, my part of the woods. McLean Stadium, Baylor versus Auburn. Listen, I'm telling you what, that to me is one of the more exciting games. But before we do any of that, Gage Wood. Dude, what a performance today from Gage Wood. 19 strikeouts, one batter on base, a hit batter with a 2-2 count away from a perfect game. Third player in College World Series history to claim the title of a no-hit bid in Omaha. And more importantly, the way that he was able to get the job done with 120-plus pitches, that's a performance that you're going to remember. Now, again, for Dave Van Horn, you can't use him in a must-win game coming on up, but he set the tone for you to be able to kind of coast off to a 3-0 victory.
Yeah, what him and Geichel did really kind of I think it really gives them a shot to get out of this loser's bracket. I mean, again, it's still a long shot. Sure, you have to either beat LSU or UCLA twice, but I think with those two performances, as many innings as those guys ate up, That's how you come out of the loser's bracket. Someone has to step up from a pitching performance. If not one, even two, I would argue, have to step up in baseball when you see anyone getting a hole like that. Geichel, even in a loss, tip your cap to him. And then obviously, like you said, with Wood today, so it was big time. Arkansas, it's kind of the showdown. I think it's going to be Arkansas, LSU. I have Arkansas coming back and winning it twice. Is what I had going into it. So I'll stick.
I have Arkansas winning Game 1 against LSU. I have them losing Game 2. So I still think right now, when you look currently at LSU, I believe that they are going to hoist up the national championship. But Dave here, you do believe that we will see Arkansas continue their way through the losers bracket.
Yeah, they've gone about how I thought so far. Again, I don't think I could draw it up any better for them.
Has there been any upset for you yet?
two pitching performances.
Has your bracket stayed perfect so far?
Yes, but I've been really bad betting the run total. It's weird. I'm under the first 2 days, the first two rounds, I didn't lose a game, but I won one bet.
See, I remember
college baseball, you can't win anything money line. Like, it's like the odds are terrible. Like, so it's like, all right, maybe over under, but dude, I haven't been good betting. I've been good betting on who's going to win the game, but from like a betting over under standpoint, I've been bad so far.
See, I've only lost one game so far when it comes to betting, and it is yesterday's game. I had Oregon State. I had Oregon State pulling it off against Coastal Carolina, against CCU. So it's like, but I also thought that we were going to get a second round and the best of 3 between Oregon State and Coastal. So Coastal, you're already in. I just need Oregon State to find a way to beat up on Louisville tomorrow. And then once they do that, get the rematch going to where I feel a little bit more confident. But Coastal, listen, man, you and I have talked about this. We both thought that Coastal was a good team. No, 25-game winning streak. Of course, they're a good team. But we were very interested with how they were going to come out with their number 3 starter in the opener. And they delivered against Arizona. They had a really good 8th inning. They delivered last night. I mean, they looked awesome yesterday at the very beginning of that matchup. To get up 5-1, really put Oregon State in a bind. That's how you want to do it. But also, Gage Wood, I mean, listen, you may be done until literally the championship round, best of 3, but you saved the bullpen. I mean, like, that is something that I think needs to be atoned for how you've been able to kind of respond and put yourself in a prime position.
Yeah, I picked Arkansas, but I'm kind of hoping we get LSU Coastal in the championship series.
It'd be a great – listen, I picked Oregon State, LSU. I don't really care who comes out on top in the SEC. I kind of want Coastal at this point. Like, the way that they have played has been –
I mean, dude, they're 1 win away from going to the championship series on a 26th game. Hadn't lost since, what, April 4th?
First weekend of April was the last time they lost.
I mean, dude, I remember watching Coastal early in the year. They played Alabama. Chris was at it. SEC Unfiltered was at the Jacksonville Classic, and Alabama played them on a Friday night. Dude, Coastal looked terrible. They were committing errors. They had 12 walks. I think Alabama won 7-1 off 4 hits because they walked 12 Alabama guys. So I remember, like, man, Coastal, man, pitching may be a weakness for them. It ends up being their best strength this year. So it's funny how teams get better in baseball throughout the season. But no, Coastal. Yeah, I want to see it. I want to see Coastal LSU, even though I have Arkansas.
I want to see Coastal. I want to see Coastal LSU at this point. But maybe we will see Arkansas, and it'll be a great matchup. Maybe we'll see the SEC come out on top. But I'll tell you what, the Sun Belt, I love the Sun Belt. I think I've made this clear multiple times. Like, I think the Sun Belt is the best Group of 5 conference because of the versatility when it comes to the football teams. For baseball, if the Teal Chickens want to go ahead and run rampant, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it because that's a fun team out there.
The Teal Chickens, yeah. I mean, Southern Miss is good in that league. Kind of a down year for that league, but they had 2 hosts this year.
I got the War Chickens in Columbia. I got the Teal Chickens in Myrtle Beach. I love my South Carolina people. My South Carolina people love me.
Palmetto State man right there.
I just need Clemson to win week 1, and I got to pick them against LSU, and I'm going to own the Palmetto State, even though I've only –
Bear's going to give you his prediction tonight, guys, on that game.
So let's go ahead and break it down. Let's just go right now and break it down. 2 early previews going into week 1. Baylor and Auburn and LSU and Clemson. Let's start off with Clemson versus LSU. Because if you ever heard me on this channel, you ever heard me just around on other channels, I've already said and dubbed this the game of the year. I truly believe that by the time that we come back in December, we will be looking at this game in such a different tone, a different light, how much of an impact it had for setting the standard out in Baton Rouge or Clemson this upcoming fall. And I've already made this clear before, and I'll say it again. QB1 versus QB2 is going up against each other at Death Valley on a Saturday night. And that, to me, is where a game they should have gone. I understand why it's in Columbus. Full circle moment for Lee Corso. But I'm telling you what, there is no place I would rather be in week 1 than sitting in Death Valley at Memorial Stadium, Clemson, South Carolina, to watch Garrett Nussmeier, Nussbus, go toe-to-toe with Cade the Killer Klubnik. That, to me, is a must-see game.
Bear, if you could pay for if I could do 2 games in week 1, I think it's the games we're previewing tonight.
Baylor
and Clemson LSU. And again, when you say game of the year, are you thinking this game is going to be a close down to the wire game of the year, or just kind of what's going into it game of the year?
Both. I think both.
See, I could see if anyone blew anyone out in this game, to me, it's Clemson. I don't think LSU can blow them out in this game because where it's at and the line of scrimmage advantage Clemson has in this game. I would be if you told me, if Cole, you were just like, Dave, all I can tell you after week one is LSU is our buddy Chris Phillips would say, put belt to ass to Clemson week one. I'd be, man, I'm not shocked they won, but man, they put belt to ass. I was like, man, woo, LSU's coming in. Man, a real national title contender, more so than I'm even selling. But no, big storylines, you're right. I mean, it would not be shocking at all if both these teams are in the college football playoff at the end of the year.
No. Big storylines. I'll go with my first one, then you go, and then I'll go with my second one. It's QB1 versus QB2, and I will continue to preach that as long as possible. I think get Cade Klubnik going into this year, what we saw last season, him finally hitting his stride, that is what QB1 material is. It's year 3 with Garrett Riley. It's a better offensive line. It's having wide receivers that you trust are going to take that next jump forward. And you had 2 freshmen last year that set a tone. Bryant Wesco, and then you throw in TJ Moore. I think both of our top 15 playmakers. And then you throw in Antonio Williams, who may be the best of the bunch. He's the most experienced of the bunch, but you add all that together, that's vintage Clemson.
Bear, doesn't it feel like not even like that long ago people were talking about, like, especially like Cade Klubnik's first year, like there's just no weapons around him.
And now this is the first time since really the late 2010s that it feels like Clemson's back to being in that wide receiver.
I would say, yeah.
The T. Higgins. The T. Higgins.
I would say T. Higgins and Justin Ross.
That was the last year, about 2019. Yeah. So we're going all the way back to like circa 19 when this team.
Trevor
Lawrence, exactly. So this is where we're at right now. I think that he can have 2 1,000-yard receivers. I think that there will be 2 all-ACC receivers on the squad. Here's the crazy part. You can go ahead and pick who are those 2. Is it Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco? Is it Brian Wesco and TJ Moore? Regardless, they're going to be 2 all-ACC wide receivers that are channeling in their vintage Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins. They may not be up to that level, but they're going to channel it in. And Cade Klubnik, I think, having an identity, a standard. The way I thought about Jackson Dart last year and how high I was, there's nothing more I can teach you. Now it's about execution. That's how I feel about Cade Klubnik. But let's just call it as is. We have got to start respecting, I think, from a national perspective, more of Garrett Nussmeier. He's the only player in college football returning this year with 4,000 passing yards. He had the same number of interceptions as Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers last year. But he also had 125 more pass attempts. So even though he was leading the SEC, he was doing it because of the offense was so one-dimensional. I love the wide receivers that they brought in. I think Nick Anderson is a stud. I think you're going to get great play from Barry and Brown with that speed element. I think having a Xavier Thomas back for another year, a Chris Hilton fully healthy, Aaron Anderson in the slot. There is so much to like about the cohesion. And then you also throw in, I think, 2 quality tight ends that just never found their footing at Texas A&M and at Oklahoma. They have made some noise this past spring. From what I'm hearing about Bauer Sharp, feels way more comfortable playing near his hometown. So that's another win. This is a dude that can throw for over 4,000 yards. We've already seen it. This is a dude that can throw for 35-plus touchdowns because of the weaponry that he has. And if you just cut down on the turnovers, as much as I believe the upside of Lenore Sellers is better than Garrett Nussmeier, I think from the standard of what I want a quarterback who's played in a hostile environment in the biggest atmosphere and stepped on up when his team needed a win. Very, very, very real. You were 4th and 5. You need a touchdown to beat Ole Miss and keep your college football playoff hopes alive. Ice in your veins, 13, unlucky to go against me, and then opening play, Kyron Lacey, touchdown, game over. If I get to pick that guy to lead my team, that's the dude I'm rolling with in the SEC. So there's a chance for both of these guys to truly set the Heisman-worthy caliber season off on the right note. I think LSU's defense is going to be a lot better. I think Tom Allen coming on in is one of the most slept-on moves of the entire offseason. Such a good move to pair alongside with Peter Woods and Barrett Carter and what you got coming off the edge with TJ Parker and Sammy Brown at the linebacker position and Avion Terrell. If you can take advantage of that and you are Garrett Nussmeier, everyone in the SEC better be paying attention because that's going to be a great defense this year. Not a good ACC defense, a great college football defense. I think the same thing can be said, I think, about LSU by the end of the season.
Bear, so what is that? 3 points right there? You just made?
Well, it's all the quarterback. It's QB1 versus QB2.
Yeah, I think that's what you went into the defense. I just didn't know what the point was. All right. But I would keep it short and sweet after that. I'm going to just go. I mean, just kind of I think both these teams will be in the playoffs. I mean, I think we're going to not potentially see this matchup again. I just appreciate we're having this game, and it's not a neutral site. We got a home and home coming up. So, again, I think it's by far the best game, gives us the best fireworks. I'll leave my other detail in our next 2 or 3.
I think the next big thing is Brian Kelly. Can you start off on a really hot note? Because this is an LSU thing. It's been since 2019 that you haven't opened up the season with a win. But Brian Kelly, you're going into year 4. You lost in sporadic fashion to Florida State. Then you go play in Orlando and you lose to Florida State. And then last year you allow LSU to kind of set the tone early, and USC comes back and they deliver behind Miller Moss. And really good wide receiver play. Deuce Robinson with the catch of all catches. You realize that your secondary was a problem. So you went out and you made some changes. Can you do it and finally win a week 1 matchup? Because if you do that, Brian Kelly can say he has beaten Alabama. He can say he's taken his team to the SEC championship. And I think that, like, again, with you, this is a college football playoff team. Now, are they going to win the SEC? Are they going to have the first round bye? I don't know. But they are a college football playoff team. But can you win week 1? Like, there's very little when it comes to all the promises that you've checked off. National championship, SEC championship, and then honestly, if I'm being completely fair here, winning week 1 is what you have left on the radar. And all things can be possible. But before you get to the other two, you got to start with this one.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like a check. I think the other line for this, for me, is for both teams. I mean, I think Clemson's got a very, pulling up their schedule right now, very manageable schedule. I think they're the hands-down favorite to win the league. This is kind of a check the box of you kind of get into the 3 steps of, I like to say, when you can check finally 3 boxes, you're a college football playoff team. For me, for both these teams, this is kind of, certainly for Clemson, a big check the box where it's like, all right, we passed one of our tests to get an A this semester to get a 4.0. I mean, they win this game. They go at Georgia Tech 2 weeks later. They'll be favored, but obviously it's a game they should win. SMU at home will be a big one. Florida State should be improved, but again, that's at home. At Louisville could be tough, and at South Carolina. But again, if Clemson's 10-2, they're going to make the college football playoff. And if they can knock off LSU week 1, it's one of their bigger challenges of the year. I feel really good about them. Even if they lose, I feel good about them. But Clemson, certainly, if they win, driver's seat, more so than maybe anyone else in the country. For LSU, I think LSU's season, for me this year, is going to come down to 4 big road games. At Clemson, at Ole Miss, at Alabama, and at Oklahoma to end the year. If you can win 2 out of those 4, go 2-2. I would be shocked if LSU is not in the college football playoff at that point, because I think they can hold serve at home against Florida, South Carolina, A&M, and then Arkansas, and I think they should be able to beat Vanderbilt on the road. So, I mean, if them going 2-2 in those big 4 road games, and then you get one, and obviously this Clemson game being one of those big road games, that would be massive. So I think this is a big check the box. You're not automatically in the playoffs. But, man, can you imagine a world the winner of this game does not make the college football playoff? That would be
a lot of things went south.
What?
A lot of things went south. Like, a lot of things.
That would be pretty surprising if the winner of this game missed the playoffs.
For me, another storyline that I'm going to be paying close attention to, it's the reason why I don't think LSU was ever able to find a formal overall balance last season. The run and the run. Can you run the football? You weren't able to do it at a consistent basis last year with Caden Durham. And Durham, I think, is one of the better running backs in the SEC. I think he's a top 4 running back in this year's conference. I think he's a top 15 running back in college football this year, based off of potential. But when you can't run the football, you become so predictable as a unit, which leads to Garrett Nussmeier having the turnovers. So can you run the football? This is against the 85th ranked defensive line in college football. Now, are they going to be more improved underneath Tom Allen? For sure. But
yeah, I see for them.
This is also week 1, and I do think that even though you are improving with your defensive coordinator, it may take a week or 2 for them to finalize and go up against quality competition. So take advantage of that before you.
But LSU's replacing 4 starters too, Bear. I think if you made me, who do you think has the advantage right now in that matchup? I think easily Clemson's defensive line. Yeah.
But on the flip side, you also have a brand new running back kind of being implemented in for Clemson with Gideon Davidson. And I've heard a lot of positive things about him. He seems to be like the right fit for this team and maybe isn't even an upgrade over Phil Maffa from last year. But let's just call it as is. You spent a bucket load of money in the offseason to go bring in better players for your defensive line. whether that be off the edge by getting a Patrick Payton or a Jack Pyburn or getting a Sadir Mitchell. You went out, you brought in names to bolster up your defensive front seven because you couldn't stop the run last year. Like Alabama, I get it. It's Jalen Milroe. Very few people were able to contain him, but he went sideways, slantways, upways, downways, everywhere. Literally, it didn't matter. And so can you close off the run and force Kate Klubnik to beat you through the air? And can you establish the run to where you can open up the playbook, especially for Joe Sloan on 2nd and 3rd down? Like, I'm not even saying that you have to have 6 breakaway 15-yard carries for Durham. I'm saying, can you make it 2nd and 4?
Yeah.
Can you not be living in 3rd and 7 every single drive?
I hate saying this, but it's to my point here. Like I said, if you told me one team blew someone out in this game, I'd certainly go Clemson because I could see a world where Clemson, you mentioned Tom Allen, that they get after Garrett Nussmeier because of this new offensive line. 4 new starters on offensive line with Will Campbell and Emory Jones last year, and even Dellinger, who could pass block. But really, the run game numbers, I think it puts a bad image on the personnel there because I don't think they're that bad of run blockers. I think Joe Sloan and them abandon it at times. That can't be the case. But to your point, Bear, if you go into Clemson, into that Death Valley, and you're living in 3rd and 7, it's going to be a long night. You have to establish some kind of run game early to help Garrett Nussmeier out. And again, I think he's got very good pocket awareness, but that was with last year's pass protection group, who was really good at an elite level. I think that's going to drop off a little bit. How much? I don't know. But, man, I like Clemson in this matchup on both sides of the line of scrimmage going into this. When you factor in where this game is played, the cadence, is LSU going to go with a silent count? I mean, that's tough in your first game, everybody. It's just tough.
We have over 500 people watching right now. So wherever you're watching from, like the video. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel on YouTube because we're on the race to get to 25,000 subs before week 1 of the college football season. And as always, this episode is brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL.com. Go to FANDUEL.com/SECU. What does a win mean for LSU in this game? Because in my opinion, a win gives you a little bit of breathing room. And also it kind of allows people to get off Brian Kelly's case. Because Brian Kelly right now is facing a lot of pressure because if he hasn't done what Nick Saban's done and what Les Miles has done and what Ed Orgeron has done. Now, it's only year 4, but remember, by year 4, these guys were all winning titles. These guys were always staples in the SEC championship. So I'm not saying that it's going to happen because you still got to play South Carolina and you still got to play Ole Miss on the road and you got to go play against Bama in Tuscaloosa, and you still have to play against Florida. And a lot of things can go haywire instantaneously by one injury. But I think that it does show, hey, I've got the right pieces. I went out, I spent money accordingly. This team feels and looks different, like a championship caliber roster. We have the quarterback. Now we just have to make sure that the way that we perform tonight, we execute that for the next 12 weeks. That to me is what a win in Death Valley. Because let's be real, it still is one of the most dangerous environments in college football. To go to Clemson, South Carolina, they're touching Howard's Rock right before kickoff. They're running down the hill, and it's a night game. So you add all that in, it elevates the pressure of playing in that environment.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you on that. You know what the narrative will be. If LSU were going to win this game, then next week everyone is going to be talking about LSU's the SEC favorite. Because again, that's kind of how we are. We're prisoners of the moment. But I think it kind of goes back to my last point. If I'm internally at LSU and Brian Kelly, you're not really talking about it with your team, but internally you're like, there's one of those road games we had to get. At Clemson, we got one, fellas. One more. If we can go win one more at Ole Miss, who knows? They're breaking in a lot of new pieces, a lot of new chess pieces. If we can go win at Alabama, I mean, it's always tough, but you never know. I mean, personnel's not far off there. At Oklahoma, who I think will be one of the more improved teams that late in the year, but especially the Alabama game as well. But again, imagine, I mean, if they won at Clemson and then you won at Ole Miss going into your bye week and you have South Carolina at home, at Vandy, and A&M at home, man, I mean, how good are you feeling if you're LSU and you're rolling into Tuscaloosa with no losses or just even one loss?
Well, at that point, I think that all you got to make sure is you don't mess up anywhere from the Alabama game up to that. But like
you can split at Alabama and at Oklahoma, they're in the playoffs,
and you're good. And you don't even have to go to Atlanta because you're going to be in the playoff at 10-2. So that's that's kind of
I do think, Bear, I'm saying this now as the season gets closer, I could see that Oklahoma game, I think could be a lot tougher game than I think people and myself even like a couple of days ago was even giving credit.
No, it could, you know what it could be? It could be Alabama last year, but a better a better Oklahoma team. You're right at the finish line. You know that you can just, as long as you win this one, we're going to the playoff, and then you find a way to mess it up. Like, yeah, I could see that. Even though if you feel a lot more complete about where Oklahoma is, it still is one of those games where if you're an LSU fan, let's say you beat Clemson, but then you lose to South Carolina, you lose to Alabama, but still it's okay. You know, nothing's wrong. And then you lose that game. It's like, we had it and then we did it. That's what it would feel like to me. I will say this for Clemson, though. If Clemson wins this game at home against, in my opinion, one of the more dangerous offenses in the SEC, and let's say that they're able to contain Garrett Nussmeier and they force a couple of turnovers, at that point, I'm starting to believe that I can beat Georgia. I'm starting to believe that I can beat Georgia Tech. I'm starting to believe that any team that I go up against at any given point during the regular season, I can beat South Carolina. I'm in a really good spot to where, regardless of who is my competition, it's not about the logo. It's not about the brand. It's not about the conference. We're just a damn good team. Because at this point, what more do you have to wonder about? That Georgia Tech game and the South Carolina game are the only other two that I'm worried about for the rest of the season. And I even think that if you're able to hold LSU to, say, like 20 points, you can do that with Georgia Tech. You might be able to. You can probably do that with South Carolina. If you're able to kind of control the tempo of that game, you got to be feeling great. You got to be feeling like you can win a national title if you're Clemson.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think Clemson, again, another kind of check the box, but they got an easier schedule, the other 11 games. I think they'd certainly be in the play. I'd be really shocked, again, like I mentioned, if the winner did not make the playoffs, but even more so if it's Clemson. I mean, I would add that Louisville's another game. It could be tough late in the year. It could be cold in Louisville, November 14th. That's a pretty intriguing. I'm just looking. That's a Friday night game. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a standalone. I'm very excited for that one. That's one of the. So every year I'll write down like 10 or 12 games that are must-see television. They're appointment viewings. I'm not doing anything that night if I don't have to. That's one of those games that's like Friday night, I got to watch it. I got to be locked in. Because that could be a really interesting game too. That might be the one that's like, hey, we win this, we're done. Like, we can lose to South Carolina. It's not going to affect us. We're going to Charlotte.
Oh, no. Yeah, because South Carolina's not even a conference game.
Early favorite right now. If you were to be on June 16th, having to pick this game, a game that I think could go multiple ways, and the winner of this game may end up winning a national championship. You had to pick today. Who would you go with?
I'd go Clemson. I mean, our buddies over at FanDuel right now have Clemson as a 2.5 point favorite. I don't really see that getting over 3.5, but no, I don't. I think quarterbacks are kind of an even draw there. I think Cade Klubnik at home, I would take him in this. This game being in Clemson has a big factor when you're factoring in LSU breaking in 4 new offensive linemen. I guess I think going to be a really good Clemson defense, even factoring in Wade Wood as. I don't know. I like Clemson in this game because they have the advantage on both sides of the line of scrimmage, and I think both quarterbacks are really good. Clemson at Clemson, line of scrimmage advantage on both sides. I like Clemson right now.
What's the line of FanDuel?
2.5.
See, it's a pick 'em basically. Like, yeah, you're leaning a little bit more in favor of Clemson because of it's in their backyard. Like, if it was in Death Valley and Baton Rouge, I don't
know, dude. I think Clemson is a really big line of scrimmage advantage heading into this early in the year. Now, again, I think LSU's offensive line with Brad Davis and them are going to get better. I just think this is Barry, you tell me, could you have a tougher test breaking in 4 new starters on an offensive line than at Clemson week 1?
TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Sammy Brown.
That's what I'm saying. You'd struggle with they'd struggle with Southeastern Louisiana at times, just if they give the different looks and stuff. It's the first true game with these guys going against each other. Like, imagine, dude, that place is going to be rocking. Not even them just getting beat by Peter Woods and TJ Parker. It's the pre-snap penalties. No one can hear. Like, that's what I was saying, a silent count. I don't know. The more this game gets closer, and again, we're a couple months away, but I don't know. This game being at Clemson, I think, is that massive advantage in this, and I also think the line of scrimmage.
I think that there is just something about LSU this year that I'm buying so much stock into. I don't know if it's just the fact that I just believe so much that this is the year for Brian Kelly, and I thought that when they started spending money like no one's business in the winter transfer portal. Every single one of their moves in the last 6 months, I've really liked. the AJ Halsey edition from Houston has kind of set me over the top with them. I really like what LSU has put together on paper, and I like Garrett Nussmeier. And if I think that Garrett Nussmeier can be the best quarterback in the SEC, I think that he can march into any territory and be able to win. I'm taking LSU in a slight lean here. It's not because of the SEC fandom. I also just think that when you look at Clemson loses this game, they're still going to find a way to coast to a 10-2 season or even an 11-1 season. And I think that they're going to probably win it. So it's like, I truly believe LSU can't afford to lose this game. Brian Kelly knows that because of what else is on the schedule. And there's no shot that they walk away with a loss right now. But again, my opinion might change tomorrow. I may be looking at this and going,
see, I think they can afford to lose this game.
I don't know. I don't. Because so here's the thing I will say. I believe that LSU is going to win a national championship this year. And I'm not saying they will, but I do. They win a national championship when they play at Alabama and they win at Alabama. So that game to me is a must win if you want to guarantee that you're even in the same chatter for a national championship. And that's just superstition. That's not because of I believe one thing or another. That's just because of what I've seen in the past. But I think that this is a pretty close second. I feel like that those are the top two games there. If you want to prove to everybody it's different this year, it's in Tuscaloosa, it's in Death Valley.
But I still think there's two other road games they could potentially go get. Ole Miss is definitely winnable this year.
Oh, it's very winnable.
Holes Ole Miss has. And at Oklahoma, again, that's TBD. I mean, I think Oklahoma's going to be pretty good this year. But again, we can't factor in injuries. But I think it's another game LSU theoretically could go get. So they could lose to Clemson and Bama, and they're still in. It just, I don't think this is as must win as the people, a lot of LSU people think it is. And I understand they're fans. They're tired. I get it. They're tired of losing openers. That gets old. But I don't think this is a must win for the guy because he's shown he's been able to bounce back from opening season losses. I think if he loses this, I'll say this: the Florida game 3 weeks later is a must win at home.
Here's what I will say. I believe that LSU can go win against Oklahoma and Ole Miss, go 10-2, make the college football playoff. But I'm not going to believe that they will be a national championship contender. No. And that's where. So if I believe that that LSU can win a national title, this game in Alabama they have to win, and I believe that they can. I believe that
I'd say Alabama. This one I would say Bears because they're breaking in the new offensive line, and I think they can get better. But I would agree the Alabama game you would feel like would be a game they'd have to win.
You have to. And again, if you believe that this can, go ahead and let your comments down in the comment section down below. What do you think about this game? And I get it. There's a lot of people that also think that OU can be the trap game or a game where they finally win. I could see it too. I could see them winning here, winning against Alabama, and losing on the road against Oklahoma.
Sooner Cowboys, let's get revenge for that 03 Sugar Bowl national title loss, baby. Do it for Josh White.
They were in the Big 12, right, at that time?
Yeah.
So let's talk about a Big 12 team. Baylor welcoming in Auburn on a Friday night, McLean Stadium, standalone game. They're wearing the blackout on the Brazos. I can tell you what, that is a must-see spectacle. Whether or not you believe that the Big 12 is an overrated conference, they only deserve one team in the postseason. Auburn wants to set the tone early on this year. I have thrown down a little bit of money on Baylor to win the Big 12. You want to win the Big 12? You want to prove that you are going to win the Big 12? You got to be an SEC team. And there is no better test, I think, than seeing an Auburn roster that is all the talk of the offseason for what they've done. Now you actually got to execute. So some storylines I'm kind of looking at. I'll tell you the first one. I think that Sawyer Robertson is the better quarterback in this game. I think that absolutely, when we're going based off of potential expectations, you know how we talked about a couple days ago, who's the one quarterback you want to see the stat line for to kind of get a good feeling in the season? And you said Ty Simpson. Sawyer Robertson's right up there for me. Because if I believe that Baylor can actually win a Big 12 title and make the college football playoff, I want to see what his stat line is. He was so good down the stretch for Baylor. Got him to an 8-4 regular season. Did a good job of fitting in Spav's system. I think he is going to have a must-see year. Like him and Sam Leavitt are on their own level when it comes to Big 12 quarterbacks. And I wonder, where would Jackson Arnold kind of fit in that category? Or where would Sawyer Robertson fit in the mechanisms of SEC quarterbacks? And we've kind of talked about when we were mentioning who were some guys that we would love to see play for Tennessee. And I picked my number one guy being Sawyer Robertson. I would love to know, where does he fit there? Or where's Jackson Arnold fit in this game? Because Jack Starl's going to have a better offensive line than what he had last year at Oklahoma. Sooner Cowboy, I see you in the chat, but I'm sorry, brother. You know as well as I do, it was not a good offensive line last year. They're going to have better weapons than they had last year. That's just a given fact. You bring in that Eric Singleton. You have a Cam Coleman. Can these two quarterbacks really meet the expectations early on in the season? That's a storyline I think that deserves a little bit more attention.
No, yeah, I think the storyline here is kind of like it's a big game for both Dave Aranda and Hugh Freeze here. I mean, Aranda's been there since 2020. It's kind of been a roller coaster, a really bad COVID year, but again, chalk that up. Being a first-year head coach in COVID would have been terrible, but chalk that one up to what, 21? They go win the Big 12
as like a dark horse too.
Yeah, with our boy Blake Shapen.
Yep. Had the record. He had the most passing completions in a row for a Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I mean, so they've had a real kind of up and down kind of like deal with Dave Aranda since he's really been there. And I think with Auburn, it's Hugh Freeze. I mean, it's the best roster Auburn's had, I think, probably since 2020, certainly 2019. It wasn't more talented. And probably since 2020, in the last 4 or 5 years. It's time to get it done. I think even Auburn fans, even who wear the brightest navy blue and orange glasses would agree. Like it's put up or shut up time. I mean, let's call a spade here. I think we could all agree on that. And I think it starts with setting the tone week one. I want to see if Auburn's personnel overall, I know it's improved, but how improved? If they go look good that Friday night to open up college football on August 29th, that would – the first real big SEC game, that would be really, I mean, God, I mean, that's like the perfect scenario for Auburn. Real opportunity here for Auburn. I mean, Bear, if you told me a team who needs it more, I think it's a little bit more Auburn than Baylor because I can see
Auburn needs it way more than Baylor does.
Yeah, I mean, I think Baylor could still go on some kind of run in the Big 12. That wouldn't shock me even if they lost this game. But yeah, like, I mean, Bear, think about it from the other way. Like, what if Auburn goes in? Like, what if Baylor kind of just handles them? Like, I mean, what kind of momentum does Auburn have for the next few weeks?
Well, there's six new defensive starters, full-time defensive starters for Baylor. And you have a wide receiver room that features 2 potential all SEC talents, 2 for sure top 15 wide receivers in college football this year. You have multiple backups. You like your tight end position. I like your offensive line really, really a lot. Like I really do like Auburn's offensive line this year. I think that their running game is going to pick up pace at some point in the regular season, whether it be Damari Alston or whether it be the UConn kid that comes on in. I like what they have in terms of a personnel to run a Hugh Freeze system. If you get handled by Baylor with all of these brand new starters, that's a massive slap in the face, I think, for Hugh Freeze and his execution, especially with this play design.
No, I agree with you, Barry. Like, I think Auburn does have the advantage here. Like, I do think Baylor's pretty good, but like you said, if Auburn's who they should be in year 3 under Hugh Freeze, they should go beat Baylor again if you're going to go do anything in the league this year. And again, I think people can improve, but like this is a really big, because like you mentioned, dude, it's on the national stage. Everybody will get an early little taste of Auburn. And think about it, Bear. Auburn's next game's after this: Ball State, South Alabama. Then you go at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M. Like you get really at that point,
those are 2 must.
No one's going to be talking about you for 2 weeks, and then your next 2 real tests at Oklahoma, at A&M. Then sorry, Bear, bye week. Then Georgia comes to town.
Yep.
I mean, dude. I mean, that could get bad, man.
Well, think about this: the A&M and the Oklahoma game. Those maybe don't become must wins, but you at least got to win.
You got to split them.
You got to split them.
You go
0-2. No way.
I mean, think
You're
about
not surviving that.
They're sitting there at what, 2-3 going into their bye week. I mean, shoot, you know what region of the country we live in down here. Like that can be sometimes really bad because the kids hear how bad they are for 2 weeks because the sport's covered so much down here, and just like it is in Big Ten country too. Not trying to say that. It's just like sports radio, man. Is Hugh Freeze done? Like. Is he done? They're 2-3. They got Georgia coming to town.
It'd be 3 weeks too, because it'd be Oklahoma. Let's say they lose that game. That's 1 week. Then it's Texas A&M going into that week. They hear how bad they are.
Then
how bad they were, and then it's afterwards. It's the bye week leading up to the Georgia game. That is 3 straight weeks of hearing how terrible.
You know what that would mean? You know what that would mean, Bear? The Auburn Georgia game would go down to the wire if that's the case.
It'd be overtime.
Yeah, it's gonna be some wild ass game where Auburn probably wins the game but loses. No, I mean, dude, like this Baylor game really is a tone setter for the season. Like this is it for Auburn. Like you got to win this game, man. You do, and I think Baylor's a good football team, but like I don't know if Baylor has the guys in the secondary to cover your top 4 to 5 receivers. You should take advantage of that. I think Jackson Arnold's better than what he showed last year. You mentioned the offensive line. We talked about it. We're both high on them, especially in the interior. I think you got 2 real edge rushers and you got 2 corners that can play with anybody. But Auburn should win this game. We'll be interested to see what their offensive strategy is.
It's the Walker White game. Remember, he's now down in Waco.
You're
so
right.
He's got to be very excited
about it.
I will say, speaking of quarterbacks, another underlying storyline for me, do you use Deuce Knight at all? Like, because I don't think that Deuce is sitting this year.
I don't know.
I think there is a role for him. I don't know what it is. It may just be sub-design packages inside the red zone, but I don't think that he is just sitting by twiddling his thumbs and holding a clipboard on this season. So do we see him be somewhat influential in this game? Like maybe it's a 3rd down call and they have him lined out and they run a jet sweep or something like that. Like I would love to know what his identity is going to be in this matchup. Just a little bit.
Barry, another one I think will be crucial. We don't talk about it ever enough, like fans, and even we're guilty of it at times because it's not really sexy to talk about. But both these teams have really good punters. I think special teams, a punt return, Eric Singleton, we talked about coming over from Georgia Tech, could be a major factor in the return game. And then we
decides the game. Which punt returner decides to take it back?
The Josh Cameron kid's good too. And I saw the punter, the Palmer Williams kid for Baylor, averaged like 48 yards a punt last year. I mean, again, first game on the road, breaking in a new quarterback. I mean, this guy's bombing 48 yarders, pinning Auburn deep inside their own 20. I don't know. Again, these first game adjustments. I mean, we talk about it every year. We all think we have it all figured out, myself included, on what these first week games are. We already have our preconceived notions of what these teams are. And at the end of every week 1, we're just like, dang, like, didn't see that. Like, these teams and coaching staffs don't even know what they're going to get out of week 1 now with the lack of continuity on these rosters. So, I mean, again, week 1's is as big of a mystery as it's ever been in this sport now.
What's so funny is that you mentioned Josh Cameron. He was one of the hottest players in college football the last month of the season. 3 straight 100-yard games. 4 out of his last 5 games, 100-yard performances. You want to know who is the starting tight end for Baylor this year? Just a name from the past that you can remember.
The kid at Ole Miss, or the kid at USC and Ole Miss, Michael Trigg.
Michael Trigg. It's Michael Trigg. That's when you know you're like, oh man, I've been watching this sport.
Just to flex out why.
The impact of a win for Auburn in this game.
I mean, I'm not going to be long-winded again. It's essentially a synopsis of what I said earlier. Like, I mean, it's the tone setter to your season. Again, at Baylor, I mean, it could be a real quality win to help you potentially maybe be in a playoff push if Baylor can go be good in the Big 12. This is a game you keep in your back pocket because I do think Baylor's going to collect some wins in that conference. But you got to go. I mean, like we mentioned, Baylor, look at the schedule coming down the stretch, man. Like, you got to win this game. It's a big game, and if you've brought in as much talent, the roster management's been there. You've upgraded this roster, best since it's been since 2020. Again, not saying much. This team's had a losing record. This program's had a losing record for the past 4 years. But you have an improved personnel, second-year DC. Hugh Freeze has got a quarterback. I think they can do some damage in Jackson Arnold. He's got a surrounding cast around him. I know it's at McLean, but I think Auburn should win this game.
For me personally, if you lose this game, it kind of shows you that you're nowhere near where you should be going into year 3 underneath your head coach at a program that expects to be a player. Maybe not always the favorite, but a player in the SEC. And so, like, this is like the beginning of the year. Remember how we felt last year? And the things can change instantaneously. But remember how we felt last year about Billy Napier and the way that they just looked inconsistent against Miami? It's Miami, but it's in the swamp. You feel like that you have a home advantage. You feel like that you spent the entire offseason making some big-time moves to better your roster, and then you lay that egg. Like, that's how I'm going to feel about Hugh Freeze, that exact same way. It's not over, but there has got to be a lot of things that
is there a world where you feel decent about Auburn in a loss? Or is that it's just a win or loss? Like, what if they look pretty good?
Game-winning field.
Like you could keep some confidence with them if it's like, yeah, something like that.
But it's also because of I think that Baylor is going to be one of the top 3 teams in the Big 12 this year. So it's like if I think that you're a middle of the pack SEC team, like a team that can go 9-3 or 8-4, and you lose on a game-winning field goal to a team I think can win their conference, My opinion's not going to change on you. But if you're down by 10 and you have Jackson Arnold throw another interception into double coverage, I'm not going to feel good about you at all. At all.
No, it's to the point now, year 3. You got to win. There's no moral victory. This isn't, well, guys, we went and played our butts off at Baylor. It's like, dude, no. That's a game you're getting on the bus. You're expecting to get it back on the plane.
And you're getting an earful, or it's going to be funeral silence.
Dude, just getting a refresher on their schedule, dude. This is like a massive game.
It is such an underrated game. I'll tell you what, for Baylor, if Baylor wins this game, I'm going to double down on my money, and I'm going to throw it on them to win the Big 12. Especially if they do double-digit win. If they get that type of victory in their backyard, in the blackout jerseys, number one, I think it shows that Spavital is the right OC to work with Sawyer Robertson. Number two, they are going to be a dangerous team in the offensive game. Because I think that Auburn's going to have a great defense this year.
And I think their schedule is pretty beneficial, Bear, looking at it. I mean, they're two out of their 3 non-cons are tough. Auburn and at SMU, but you get Sanford. Their Big 12 schedule to me is very manageable. Arizona State, who I think could drop off a little. I think Oklahoma State's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
K-State's always a tough matchup. At TCU will be tough. I think at Cincinnati they should win. I think
they should win that one.
UCF, they should win first year. Kent Frost is one of my fraternity brothers. Scott Frost. Utah, that's a winnable game at
home. Nobody knows what it is.
And then Houston. I mean, you're right, Bear. They go beat Auburn. Yeah. I mean,
they avoided.
How do you feel about the Baylor Bears getting in as a second Big 12 team, but not winning the league?
Well, I think
this game would go a long way to that.
I will say, if Clemson were, I think if Clemson and Baylor were to win this game, it would be very interesting to see if one of these conferences get a second team in. If they lose this game, I think it'd be a little bit different.
You're right, Bear. That's why these games are important. We forget about that at times and just look at a win-loss, but it's man, these are the games that we're going to be talking about at separate number 13 and 12 when they're comparing conferences.
I will say the ACC gets a little bit of an extra pass because you have Florida versus Florida State, Louisville versus Kentucky, you have Clemson versus South Carolina, Georgia versus Georgia Tech. So there's a little bit more. For the Big 12, you win this game, if Baylor is in the Big 12 championship, and let's say they lose to SMU. I mean, not SMU, Arizona State, or they lose to Texas Tech. But they beat Auburn, and Auburn goes 9-3. They've kind of earned their right to at least fight for that last spot. I'll say that much.
What do you feel good about for Baylor here? You feel better about them beating Auburn at home or winning at SMU the next week?
Winning at SMU the next week, 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not. I think SMU is going to be fine this year. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. But let's just call it as is. What's the money line for this game on FanDuel right now?
The money line is
I mean
Auburn minus 125. Auburn's favored by 2.5.
See, I'm going to be completely real, and I'll start first. I think Baylor wins right now. I think Friday night, veteran quarterback in the same system, a wide receiver that was hitting his stride at the right time, a running back that does not get enough national attention in Bryson Washington. I think that they have a good secondary receiver, not a great one, but a good one in Ashton Hawkins. They brought in Kobe Predence, so I don't know what he's going to be at this point, but I'm not ready to kind of throw it entirely out on a former Alabama kid. And I trust what I'm going to get in the defense by Dave Aranda. And I'll just be real. I personally, if you're asking me right now, who am I starting my team with as a head coach? Dave Aranda or Hugh Freeze? I'm picking Dave Aranda, and it's in your backyard. So I'm leaning Baylor in this game right now. Just today, I'm leaning Baylor.
Yeah, I'm going to go Auburn. It's just there's a lot of questions. If Auburn's offensive lines is pretty good as I think it's going to be, I like Auburn. But again, if they go out here and underachieve a little bit, and Aranda has all offseason to prepare for this, obviously like he does, and Durkin has all offseason to prepare for Jake Spavital, the new OC over there at Baylor. So it goes both ways, but still, they'll give them some looks. I see the thing is Hugh Freeze puts a lot on those receivers where there's a lot of option routes, and it kind of just being a first game with Jackson Arnold and these new receivers, which again, a lot of people think it's one of the league's at least a top 3 wide receiving group, if not the best. That can the cohesion be there again, like I mentioned with LSU on the road in a big position at a quarterback spot that needs to be on the same timing, same page with his wide receivers in a tough environment like McLean Stadium will be. That'll be interesting. I think that's going to come along. I think they're going to be fine by midseason, but this opening game has that question mark. I do think Auburn's got the better personnel. I do like Auburn, though. I think the big reason why is I think this defense is going to stand out. Is it a deep defense? No. Are they a couple injuries away from being up shit creek without a paddle? Absolutely. But I do like DJ Durkin's second year. I think he got real dudes on the edge in Crawford and Falk, and I like both corners. So, I mean, I like Auburn in game one here.
I may change my opinion on this game later. I may go back and say, yeah, you know what? I may like the quarterback better. I'll tell you what, the blackout on the Brazos, there is a lot to like about that. It is, I'm telling you, McLean Stadium, it may not be as big as Jordan-Hare, but it can be as ravenous.
I thought it was, dude, when we went and played there, I thought it was a cool, like, it's like a perfect size.
Right on the water. It's got all, you got the river coming on through. It's a really interesting stadium, and I may be at that game.
It didn't seem like there was a bad seat in the house.
There's never is.
I didn't sit in the stadium. Obviously, it was on the sideline, but like you just look around, it's like it's really not a bad seat in this place.
No, it's a very, very nice stadium, and more importantly, it's a very balanced stadium. But you can go ahead and tell me, who do you want to win? Who do you think is going to win? You can also tell me.
Yeah, me and you went opposite on both these games.
And I'm okay with that. But here's what you can also do. If you want to tell me that I'm an idiot, or you want to tell Dave that he's an idiot, why not do it by going on over to FanDuel.com. FanDuel right now, the number one place, the number one sportsbook, the number one app to help you win money. The app is safe, secure, super easy to use. And if you already have an account, well, FanDuel Sportsbook is offering great promotions every day to users like profit boost tokens, new features like Parlay Hub, build your same game parlay, or choose from one of the SGPs already set up for you in the Parlay Hub. And if you're brand new, well, sign up today by going on over to FanDuel.com/SECU to learn more. That's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in the action with offers you don't want to miss. Whether it be on the NCAA tournament, whether it be on the College World Series, the Stanley Cup playoffs, or you can even go ahead and throw some money down on one random baseball game. Go do so. Use our promo code at FanDuel.com/SECU. Disclaimer: must be 21 and present in select states or 18 plus in DC. First online real wager money only. $5 deposit is required. Bonus issued with non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under the agreement of the Kansas Star Casino LLC. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.com or visit FanDuel.rg. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelpline.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelpline.ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Dave, let's talk about some of the best plays of the 2000s. 25 plays that were brought up. I believe it was by ESPN, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Yeah. What were the top 5 plays?
Oh, let me pull it up again. Sorry. Here it is. Top 5 plays. All right, Bear, have you seen this article? Be honest.
I haven't. So I'm genuinely.
What do you think one is?
Kick 6.
Kick 6. I think anybody, think about this from 2000 on. Yeah, that's the most memorable. You factor in too was led to somebody going to the national championship game. Number 2.
Hold up, real fast. When it comes to kick 6, here's what I will say: if I were to ever tell a college football fan or get somebody to buy into college football, what's the play that will go ahead and turn you on? That would be it, because of the atmosphere. The ambiance of Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Well, that was on the line. You had both teams. It's 1 and 3. Bama was 1, Florida State was 2, and Auburn was 3. Winner won the West. Winner went to play Missouri in the SEC title game. I think if Bama wins that, they're playing Florida State in the Rose Bowl. It really that was a semifinal. It was a playoff game, and just a wild.
You know what else is really funny with that? If Alabama wins that game and somehow they're able to pull it off and the kick 6 doesn't happen, that might be the first 3-peat since the 1930s in college football.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know Nick Saban's told people he came back into the office the day after the national title game, Florida State, Auburn, and Florida State, when, Nick had to go do some ESPN stuff. So he was there, was doing coverage. And he came back, and that was their first day back a little bit from postseason vacation, where Bama just got their ass kicked by Oklahoma and Trevor Knight. And he came back, and apparently he was pissed off, and he was pissed off. He's like, God, we should have beat the shit. He's like, dude, we were the best. He's like, dude, we were the best team in the country. We should have beat. We'd have kicked Florida State's ass. So that's one I think that he was like, if there was one that he feels like they should have, I'll say either that or 16 that they should have won another one.
The 16 game I get, but they at least were there. This is one of those ones where I think they would have been fine against Missouri in the SEC championship, and they absolutely would have been fine against Florida State. And so, yeah, it's interesting. Number 2, this is just since 2000, right?
Yeah.
This it's Statue of Liberty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Boise State one, dude. I remember watching this one in my buddy. I think Nick Saban was hired like a week later because this was the big thing going on. Because Bama had already fired Mike Shula.
Yep.
And I remember watching this in my buddy's place, and his dad was grilling out. And we were all just going nuts. Dude, Oklahoma was up big. I mean, it was kind of big, but it was like you felt like the game was in control. And it was like, oh my gosh, the hook and ladder, the onside kick. Oh my God, yeah. It's like they're going for 2. Like we're just like, oh my God, dude, they're going for 2. I didn't blame them, but then the Ian Johnson kid proposing to his girl after.
I just think that when you look back at that game, how it happened and how Boise State just was able to get it done in the most unconventional way, that helped a lot of the young generation fall in love with college football. That's
the first big upset of the BCS era. Later on, you had Utah beat Alabama in 2008. Started with West Virginia beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl when it was in Atlanta with the Katrina year. Number 3.
Remember, that was Big East West Virginia too.
Yeah, that was Pat White and the Rich Rod and the boys.
Number 3, Vince Young.
Yeah, Vince Young.
Yep, I'm 3 right now. I swear I haven't read it. I swear. Like I have no.
And then I mean, this arguably goes down. I remember being a sophomore in high school and just, everybody thought USC was the best. There was great storylines going into this one. Hell, even opening up with McConaughey and Will Ferrell doing the intros for both teams.
I think that to me was also one of the more fair BCS national championships. Like when it comes to either one could have walked away with a win and nobody would be shocked. That's how I felt about that team.
Yeah, no, this one, dude. Yeah, it's arguably one of the. I think people argue that like the greatest game of college football of all time, national title game.
I would say it's top 3, if not number 1, all time in the last 80 years. Yeah, I would say.
You have a lot that could go in. You got Bama, Georgia in 17 season, 18. You got Ohio State, Miami in 2002. That national title. It came down to the wire. Clemson, Bama in 16.
Clemson, Bama 16 is up there for me. Miami, Oklahoma 2001 is
Miami, Ohio State is one I remember being in middle school in 2002, and then the big play. I think it may be on one of these on this list. The call, they had the pass interference at the end when everybody thought Miami had already won. I remember being like, oh my God. I think my dad, now looking back on it, I'm older, I think was actually betting on the game because he's a big Alabama guy, but he was so emotionally invested in Miami that I was like, why is he so?
Josh Heupel's big time game to win the Natty. That was another one you could throw in there, I think.
Well, that was like a 9-2 game. That wasn't like the most exciting game.
No, but I just think that was one of his better performances.
9-2.
What's number 5?
Number 4, Tua's toss
to Devonta.
Yeah, so okay. that was number 4, dude. Yeah, I remember watching it. It was my boy Sooner Cowboys can attest this. Me and Coach Schmidt, Jerry Schmidt, the strength coach at Oklahoma. I just picked him up. He just became the strength coach at A&M, and we had to go eat. Me, him, and Tim Brewster. We went and drank some beers, watched this game in the hotel lobby we were all staying at. And I remember we were all like, oh my gosh, I remember watching the whole second half there, dude. They put the freshman in, they put 2 in.
Devonta caught it.
Watching it. Yeah, and that was a wild finish.
To me, that might be as important for Devonta Smith's moment than any other one that he had, just because of the impact of that game.
Yeah. No moment was ever too big for him. Number 5, Bear the Whore. That was the App State beating Michigan in 2007.
I'm shocked that's that low. I thought that would have been number 3.
That was like a first real big, like, wow, dude, like massive upset because Michigan was preseason top 5. Yeah, that was
an FCS school. That was
this wasn't App State as people kind of, not that they're like awesome now, but like they were even less known. To your point, they were an FCS school, like one at the big. This was week 1. Dude.
Yeah, it was Rich Rod's opener.
Yeah, this was an 11 a.m. Central Standard Time Zone game to open up for 07 football season. You're like, oh my God.
Remember, that was remember, Rich Rod was supposed to go to Bama. Nick comes in, he goes to Michigan. That was his opener that year. That was his first game ever.
No, I think Lloyd Carr was the coach then still.
That was Rich Rod, I swear. 07. I'm telling you, it was Rich Rod's first year there. I'm telling you.
You could be. It's in that same time frame. Let's see.
Because I remember he didn't get the job there, so he went to Michigan.
Yeah, it was Rich Rod.
It was his opening game. What's number 6?
That was what is it? Because at 06. Because what year was his first year at Michigan? 2008? Yeah, it was 2008. It was Lloyd Carr's last year they lost to App State.
Was it?
Yeah, Rodriguez was introduced by Michigan as its new head coach at a news conference on December 17th, 2007. So that was the last year. Yeah, I thought it was Lloyd Carr because remember Michigan ended up being good that year. Like they came back. Remember I don't know if you remember this or not, but they played Tim Tebow in Florida in the Citrus Bowl the year Tim Tebow won the Heisman, and it went down to the wire, and Michigan ended up winning. Michigan I think went 10-3 that year. Michigan ended up being that was like Chad Henne and the boys.
Capital won against Florida.
Yeah, they ended up being good. What they finished ranked that year, Michigan?
They were number 18 in the country.
Yeah, they weren't bad. It wasn't like they sucked and lost to App State to open the year. They weren't terrible. All right, I remember this one, Bear. This is in the Big 12. You're Big 12. Number 6. I remember I was in Oxford, Mississippi, watching this at the library bar with my Ole Miss buddies. The 6th, November 1st, 2008. It was the Michael Crabtree catch.
Michael Crabtree game?
Yeah. Beat Colt McCoy in Texas.
No, and again, many people that is still for many people out in the state of Texas the best game in college football. Just number the way
7.
it ended.
Yeah, you're right. It was a while, and that affected the national title race that year because Oklahoma got in over Texas. Yeah. Number 7, Prayer at Jordan Hare. I remember listening to this on the radio as I was.
That was the Ricardo Lewis catch, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, dude, even Gus, you see Gus just throw his thing. Because, I mean, Nick Marshall, Gus has told me Nick Marshall went to the wrong where that was not where he was. There was a wide open dude. He's like, dude, go back and watch it. I've watched it a million times. He's like, that's why you see me throw my stuff up in the air and throw my hands up because he went to the guy that was double covered.
What do you think is more impressive? The catch or the catch or the throw?
I mean, the throw's bad. It should have been.
The throw's terrible in my opinion.
It should have been. I don't really know if you give. I guess Ricardo Lewis's concentration, but it's more the lack of failure by my guy. It's funny now. What's his name? Trey Matthews transferred to Auburn and ended up being a pretty good player.
Because it was Matthews in coverage, wasn't it?
And Josh Harvey Clemens, yeah.
Harvey Clemens was the other one. That's right. No, I think it's more so. I think it's more so just how badly you batted the ball up in the air to hang enough. Because honestly, that was a bad execution from that standpoint more than anything else.
Yeah. No, you're right. Number 8. Dude, I remember we were cleaning. This is the Surrender Cobra. This is the Michigan State block in the Michigan punt.
Jalen Watts Jackson still is one of the – now,
dude, that's an all-time epic call. Like, that was a – yeah, I remember we were sitting there in our recruiting lounge at Georgia. We just got done playing. I don't know how I remember this, but Missouri. I remember the recruits were still in there, and we had this on the jumbo in our practice facility. And, dude, that game, everybody's just going nuts. Like, oh, my God, dude. All they had to do was get the punt off, and the game.
That was it. And it was such a terrible snap, too. I think that was – like, people want to go ahead and get mad at the punter, but, like, the snap was just so bad.
Bad. Bear number 9, Superman, Red River. We got Teddy Lehman hopping over to sack Chris Sims or force a fumble or the pick.
I'd go a little higher personally. That to me was one of the most iconic moments in.
It's an iconic play. You think not necessarily the game, but that play. You remember for Red River.
That's what I'm saying. 10, that play is very well remembered.
Number 10 is the play we just talked about. Champions, the play, the Miami Ohio State interference call.
Yeah.
Number 11, Clowney's car wreck against Michigan. Yeah, I mean it's top 15.
Has the time passed at that point? outside of everyone
I'm
knowing,
kind of with you. Like that, just outside that game, outside of that, Barry, you remember what else that game's known for? The terrible measurement call. Remember the big gap? And they're like, first down, and Spurrier's like, what?
To me, that's more memorable. Like, you know what that play was? That was the one to where every NFL scout said he's going number one. That's it. But it didn't do anything for South Carolina in terms of the overall moment. It didn't change the persona about South Carolina that year. Like, they weren't going to win. They weren't going to be finishing in the top 5 or anything like that. It's a good play, but it's a very overhyped play. Like, outside of just Clowney, hey, welcome to the NFL. You're going number 1 to Houston. Like, whoever gets the number 1 pick, that's where you're going. That was it.
Number 12, oh my gracious. Yeah, this is the Johnny Manziel ball. Like the first half, it's all over the place, and he improvises and hit Ryan Swope wide open to the end zone.
Bama?
Yeah, it's that one, number 12.
I was in the end zone that game.
That was one of my, it's probably my second to third to last game as a student there. I was in my last year in college.
That was my first year in college. I was freshman. I was 13 rows up, and we saw shit. I knew right then and there A&M was going to win that game.
13, Orange Crush. James, the game we talked about. Tony Brown gets picked. Hunter Renfrow with 1 second left. I mean, yeah, that could arguably be higher. I mean, it's almost a walk-off national title.
It is a walk-off national.
I mean, there's 1 second. They just squibbed it.
Which one?
They just squibbed it. I mean, it was over. Yeah. Number 14. Yeah, I remember being the Bush push. It's a classic play.
Notre Dame game, right?
Notre Dame still should have won that game. Number 15, this one's kind of overrated because, I mean, Oregon State wasn't awesome. The Reggie in the fog, like I don't remember watching it. I remember this game. I don't remember watching the whole game, but like, I don't know. It's just a Reggie Bush Heisman performance. It was a little overrated.
It was the fog game in Corvallis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember a play. I just remember Reggie having the game of his life.
16, I remember watching this. This may be a little too high, but the first Tim Tebow jump pass on a goal line against LSU, I remember that at home. Like
that was 07 or 06?
That was 06, his freshman year, the year they won it all.
Okay.
Dude, I remember the next one, the one I did, the Bluegrass Miracle, LSU, Jamarcus Randall to Michael Clayton. When Kentucky was already storming the field. Dude, I remember listening to this game on the radio. We were coming back from an Alabama-Mississippi State game, and this game was on. And, dude, I remember everybody like, oh, my God, dude, Kentucky's about to beat LSU, man. It's like one last play, Hail Mary, but it's over. Like, Kentucky, they already dunked, what's his name, the head coach for Kentucky, then with the Gatorade. Dude, and then, like, dude, the tip just goes right through. I mean, that was a Saban-led LSU team.
I say that was 04, right?
02. That was Muschamp, the DC, Jimbo's the OC, and yet Nick's the head guy.
Dang.
Number 17. Yeah, I remember this game. Both these teams weren't great. You do too. Those crazy laterals, Miami Duke. On the
damn.
In 15.
The kick return game. Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that one. The Duke win, right?
Yeah, that was 17.
Yeah. 17.
I remember this play. I don't remember the game. I remember Miami struggling in this game, but number 19 when Ed Reed wrestles it away and runs it back at Boston.
I can't remember that one. I was maybe
2001. Yeah.
I was 6.
Number 20, I thought this one may be a little higher. Gravedigger, the Bama 4th and 31 2 years ago, and Jordan Hare.
That's got to be higher.
I thought 20. I thought that's a little low at 20.
Here's the one that I'm very shocked hasn't come in because it's the most iconic photo of his career. The Florida versus Florida State touchdown run by Tim Tebow, where he gets up and he has Braveheart on his face. And it's the entire crimson, and he's like he punches the air afterwards. To me, that's the most iconic photo of Tim Tebow.
No, I better two. We got 4 more. We got 21, Black 41 flash reverse. This is Eric Crouch's kind of Heisman moment at Nebraska over Oklahoma back in
2001.
2001, yeah. All right, 22. I remember this play. These are two teams in Mississippi. Millsap's Trinity. You remember this play back in 07, Bear? The 61-second spectacle where they're reversing it, 15 laterals, 61 yards, and 60. It's the longest play on this.
It's the longest time play in college football history.
Yeah, because Trinity's out of San Antonio, right?
Yeah, Trinity's Trinity Junior College.
Number 3 or 23, dude, this is a very underrated play. The lateral Arkansas 4th and 25 to convert to
the Hunter Henry play to Alex Collins.
That lost Ole Miss the SEC West.
I say remember that because Ole Miss that year would have probably won the SEC.
If they won that game, they would have been tied with Bama, and they had the head-to-head tiebreaker. They'd have won the West.
The other thing is that I think that Hugh Freeze would have probably saved his job enough. I think there would have been enough people who would have maybe.
Dude, I mean, that's a wild, underrated play.
And Arkansas was so bad underneath. Oh, what was do you remember what happened after the game?
What do you mean after?
Do you remember who the coach was for Arkansas?
Brett Bielema?
Do you remember what he said after the game?
This may ring a bell. Which one?
Gonna hop on the wife.
Oh, he did say you're gonna hop on the wife. You're right. He did say that.
Dude,
remember they convert that, then score and tie. Remember they go for the win, the 2-point conversion, don't get it, but the face mask.
They get the second
on
chance.
Allen, so they get a second, and they just quarterback sneak and win, dude. It was like, dude, I was like, oh, because I was cheering for Arkansas. I was like, oh man, dude, they stopped them on the 2-point conversion.
I was in the press box at Alabama at the time.
Dude, you hold it up and remember, dude, it's like, oh no, face mask.
I was a junior that year. I was a junior in college that year, and I was getting in the press box for Alabama versus I think it was LSU.
LSU, you're right, Bear.
Yeah,
it was LSU that was the first game.
Yeah, that was the 2:30 kick, and then we had the Alabama.
LSU, that was when Bama just totally stymied Leonard Fournette.
Yep, and the hit by Reuben Foster.
24, Bear. Cam can his run against LSU. That was an individual, pretty good play. Like when he ran past Patrick Peterson.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think that's Cam's most iconic moment, though?
Cam's is weird, like his individual play, maybe, but like I don't know. I kind of think of Cam more in like the Iron Bowl coming back on the road and stuff like that.
Cam's pass to Philip Lutzenkirchen is the one that I most remember him for.
Yeah, that kind of sums their season. Like I do think of him running and playing. I mean, I thought of Cam just had they had a lot of comebacks that year, even at Kentucky. Then 25, Bear, I remember this play vaguely, but it's kind of random. Lamar's leap, him jumping into the end zone at Syracuse in 2006.
It's deserving up there. It is. Because I don't think that Lamar didn't have a lot of Heisman moments. He just was so improvisational.
I remember crap out of Florida State that year.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that one. The Johnny Bama game. I was at that game. Like again, the Johnny Bama game. That I knew in that moment. I was a freshman in college. I knew in that moment Alabama was losing. I knew it. Like you can't do what Johnny did and walk away with a loss. You just can't. It's impossible, in my opinion, after what you were able to connect with Ryan Swoop. And what was crazy was Ryan Swoop was number 2. Like Mike Evans was the guy, but like Swoop is such an underrated receiver in college football.
I like Swoop. Yeah, they made so many plays that game.
Yeah, that for sure. Let's get on out of here. Let's go ahead and break down South Carolina's schedule. If you haven't already, like the video, hit the ring notification, subscribe to the channel. We have over 1,100 people watching right now. We would love to be able to continue to grow right before the start of the SEC Media Days, right before the start of the SEC college football season. Who knows? Maybe we'll even give you a shout out on the show when you go ahead and hit subscribe. If you let us know by following us on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson, at Dave Shumate SEC, and at SEC Unfiltered. Okay, Virginia Tech, week 1. This one is in Atlanta, right? It's the Monday night game.
Yeah.
Yep. Then you play against
Sunday afternoon, 3:00.
It's a Sunday game. That's it. It's a Sunday game. Right before the Miami Notre Dame game on Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yep. Then you play South Carolina State, Vanderbilt, then Missouri on the road. Kentucky. Who's next after that one? I can't tell.
Xavier.
Is it Xavier?
I think so. Let me pull up.
No, it's a bye week. That's why.
Oh, is that what it says? I was thinking. I think Xavier would be pretty damn random though.
At LSU, home against Oklahoma, home against Alabama. Then you get to go play on the road in Oxford. Bye week, Texas A&M in College Station, Coastal Carolina, which nobody knows what to make of Coastal going into this year, Clemson to close out your season. What's the most winnable conference game? I'm going to put a caveat in this. Besides Vanderbilt. Is it Kentucky?
Yeah, Kentucky at home. I don't even almost say before Vandy.
Because Vandy's on the road this year, isn't it?
No, Vandy's at home. It's at Willie B. Remember, South Carolina went to Vandy and beat the crap out of
That's
them.
right. I mean, it's Kentucky. Like, Kentucky's the most winnable.
It's Kentucky at home. I think that's the most winnable.
I don't think it's even close. I think that's far and away the most winnable. Most exciting game for you?
Most exciting game for me, Bear, for Clemson's schedule.
South Carolina schedule.
Sorry. I was looking at Clemson the last game. South Carolina schedule. You got to think I'd be shocked if South Carolina's not at least 4-1 after their first 5. I mean, I lean they're 5-0 if I'm being honest, heading into Baton Rouge. I'm gonna go that Oklahoma game at home. I think it's gonna be a big game for both teams. Again, I think Oklahoma's gonna be surprisingly better than people think this year. That's a big swing game for them to potentially be a 9-10 win team if they go on the road and won at South Carolina. I know South Carolina got after them. I mean, that game was over after the first quarter, as many turnovers as Oklahoma was giving South Carolina right off the bat. But how does South Carolina bounce back against Oklahoma the week after the LSU game? I mean, that's a good chance it's a night game. I think it's already slotted in that 3:30 night slot potentially. I mean, you get back late, you got to bounce back against a team that's going to be a little bothered. You embarrassed them last year. That Oklahoma game, I think that'll tell a lot about this South Carolina team, honestly, them getting them back at home. I'm very intrigued by that one, Bear.
I go one more over. I go Bama. Homecoming, Willie B. Probably going to be a night game for you. The other thing that's going to be really influential here, it's Lenore Sellers as the veteran quarterback in this game. Because remember, last year, Jalen Milroe was the veteran quarterback in this matchup. And that probably allowed you to kind of set the tone really early on in Tuscaloosa. And you only won by 2. When I get Ty Simpson, now you have questions, but hopefully more improved defense than what you're going to see against Virginia Tech in week 1. Can you take advantages against Ty Simpson? And can you win this one? Because honestly, if you win this one, I feel really confident about Ole Miss. I feel really confident about Texas A&M. I feel really confident about Clemson. And let's just say you only have 2 losses. It's LSU and Oklahoma back-to-back weeks. I mean, 10-2 is still on the table at that point.
Yeah, that Bama game is interesting for both those teams, South Carolina and Alabama, because it's in the midst of a really hard stretch for both of them. I mean, South Carolina's at LSU, Oklahoma at home, Bama at home, and then at Ole Miss back to back. Bama.
Both 4 games are the most important.
Bama gets at Georgia, Vandy at home, at Missouri, Tennessee at home, and at South Carolina before a bye week, and LSU coming to town. That's 5. South Carolina is the 5th straight game for Bama.
To me, those 4 games are the most influential games for South Carolina that year.
For sure. That's going to tell you what kind of season they have, for sure. I agree with you. That'll really set the tone. And you got one of them, 2 at home, 2 on the road. Again, a lot of seasons come down to just that third of a season. Like I mentioned with LSU earlier, what do they do in those big 4 road games? So like you said, for Clemson, can they go – for South Carolina, can they go 2-2?
You get to bookmark it too.
If they go 2-2, you feel really good about them matching or at least getting to 8 wins. I mean, if they go 2, say they're 5-0 after the first 5, and they go 2-2 in those 4 games. I mean, that's 7 wins already right there, and you still got. A&M at A&M could be tough, but you still got the shots. I think it's about an 8-win team.
No, if they get to that point, I think 8 wins is a lock. If they were to go 7, if they were to be 7-2 going into the last 3 games, 8-4 is a lock at that point. Far and away it is. 3 must-win games in your opinion.
3 must-win.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Virginia Tech. Open up the season. You got to get that one. You got it. You got to get that one.
Yep.
I think the next one's at Missouri. I feel like if South Carolina is going to match what they did last year or be better, I know it's going to be a tough game. It's at Missouri. They're going to want revenge too, but I feel like that's going to be one you'd have. And would you not? If you thought South Carolina would go match what they did last year and win 9 games in the regular season, but that's one you'd have to have. So I'm thinking South Carolina, and I kind of like them to be 5-0 coming out of the gates, at least 4-1. But I think they got to collect some wins in those first, at least 4 in those first 5, which will certainly be favored to do to kind of go try to match that 9-win season. And then I'd say the third one, Bear. I think Ole Miss is that second probably most winnable conference game on the road this year. And usually if you get to that 9-win mark, you usually have a big road win or two. I think that would be it. And again, when I'm saying 3 biggest, I'm kind of trying to match what they did last year. Again, that's not me saying it's a bad year if they only go win 7-8 games a year. Again, they lost a lot on defense. I mean, I would expect it to be down a little bit. So I think 7-8 is still another good year for Shane Beamer. I just think if they're going to go match that 9, they're going to have to go steal 2 road games, I think, in this league. And I think those are most likely at Missouri and at Ole Miss. And again, you got to set the tone. You know Shane Beamer is going to want that first one against his dad's old team against Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech is easily number 1. Like that for me is – I agree with you. It's because of it's the tradition of what is Beamer ball and how we kind of found out about the Beamer family. Virginia Tech. Number 2 for me – and I'm going to play cheap here because I feel like that I kind of get away with this one. It's either Oklahoma or Alabama. You got to win one of them at home because if I think that there's something about winning at home that's going to carry a lot of weight for you, especially with 2 teams that have questions with brand new quarterbacks being indoctrinated in, questions when it comes to roster construction in certain spots. So I feel like that's when I'll lean Oklahoma more than Bama because of Oklahoma. I see them being an 8-4, 9-3 team. I see Alabama being a 10-2, 11-1 team. And then the other thing is I'm going to do exactly what I said, but flip it. Ole Miss, Texas A&M. You got to win one of those 2. I think that going on, because that's the team that I feel like that you're closer to. You're closer to Ole Miss and you're closer to Texas A&M than you are to LSU and Alabama. But I feel like any single one of them could make a run and go to the college football playoff if everything starts to hit. So can you prove that you're at least better than one, if not better than both? On the road, playing in an environment that is probably not going to be in your favor. Can you dismantle A&M the way that you did last year, but in their backyard? Or can you beat up on Austin Simmons? Can your defense create enough differences that puts you ahead and you get to coast your way? So it's cheap, but if I were to go be bet and let's go different, I'll go Virginia Tech, I'll go Oklahoma, and I'll go Texas A&M. That way we cover every team basically in that sense. Ceiling for this team.
I think the ceiling for this team, if you had an 8 guy, I wish there were such numbers, 8.5. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go 9. I'll go 9-3 is the ceiling for this team.
I'll go 10-2. I think that if you're able to, because let's just go with this. Let's say you lose to Oklahoma and you lose to Bama, but then somehow you go into the swamp, you go into Death Valley and you win against LSU. And let's say LSU beat Clemson. Well, if you beat LSU, you can beat Clemson. Like that's the way my brain
works. I think they could beat Clemson at home even if they lose to LSU, but
sure. But like the way my brain works is if LSU beat Clemson and you beat LSU and they beat Clemson in their backyard and you beat LSU in your backyard.
Bears going to major transitive property dubs here.
Yep. Lot of what if this.
A lot of transitive property dubs.
But if you can do that, like you can beat Clemson at home. If you could beat Oklahoma, you could probably beat Texas. You can beat Texas A&M and you can beat Ole Miss. Like that's where my brain goes to. So 10-2, I think that Alabama is going to be really challenging. I think LSU, if I were to be a betting man right now, I'm automatically circling a loss. It would be LSU in Death Valley. It's going to be a night game. It's on the road. It's coming off of a bye week. There's an opportunity for
that's going to be tough. Like you said, man, I agree with you because Oklahoma's coming off playing Texas when they come to Columbia. Yeah. Bama's coming off 4 straight. This will be their 5th straight game. They play Tennessee.
And they're playing what's it called the week before? It's
Tennessee the week before. And Ole Miss plays at Ole Miss is coming back home after playing at Georgia and at Oklahoma.
So it's like it's a very like that's the only one where I'm like, yep, guaranteed loss. And I think they're going to drop another game, but I think 10-2. What's the floor for this team?
Floor for this team, I'll go 6. I think 6-6 is probably the floor here. It wouldn't shock me if this team this year dropped a game or 2 that you didn't maybe not expect, but also I think they'll get it back somewhere. With a win. Like, I mean, I'm thinking like if it's the floor, that means they're probably 3-2, probably in that first 5. They may have dropped one, and let's say you win one of those 4. There's 4 wins. I think they would get to 6. So those first 5, if you go beat Virginia Tech in vain, they should be at least 4-1 after those first 5. 3-2 would be pretty disappointing.
I go 7-5. I could see a scenario where they lose to Missouri, they lose to LSU, they lose to Oklahoma, they lose to Bama, they lose to Clemson. I could see a scenario where they lose to A&M, but they beat Missouri. I could see a scenario. Here's what I could really see. I could see a scenario where they lose to Vandy or they lose to Missouri, and they make up for it by beating Oklahoma and beating Texas A&M. Like, they're going to get back one of the games that they probably shouldn't have lost with the game they probably shouldn't. They shouldn't have won. But I think 7-5. Like, at this point, anything less than 7 wins for a Shane Beamer-led team, it's not worth it. Like it's a down year. It's a bad year, in my opinion.
6-6, you're calling bad year, Baron, for him?
I would. With a quarterback like the Norris Sellers, with, I feel like, more continuity at the wide receiver position. Maybe not talent, but continuity in terms of, like, hey, Mazio Bennett's been here for a year. You have Nick Harbor here for a year. I think also Michael Smith at tight end, like, a guy an offensive coordinator such as Shula, the utilization of tight ends for what he did with
as we get closer, are you high on the Shula hire now, or you're TBD? See, I'm TBD.
I'm TBD because I like that there's going to be some similarities to what we saw with Dow Loggins last year, but there are going to be some differences. And I don't know if the differences is going to help or hurt Lenore Sellers.
Yeah, I think they're really going to miss. I think that defensive line unit will be one of the more underrated, probably misses in the entire country. Probably just as an overall unit. I think they're going to drop off some defensively, and I'm with you at the wide receiver spot. Someone's got to step up at a consistent basis because I think Mazio Bennett's a true number 2, number 3 guy if you have a really good unit. And I keep saying I think they're going to miss. I think in the run game. I think Rocket Sanders are going to miss Rocket Sanders because I think especially in the red zone, they will miss him from that perspective. So I think you got some key pieces you got to fill in this year. But I do think South Carolina to me is in that anywhere from 6 to 8 range, where I think they'll be.
I think 8 is – if they went 8-4 this year and you could convince Lenore Sellers to come back next season, I think South Carolina would be in such a good spot to go on a run of all runs. But – if they were to go 9-3 this year, I could still see them having a successful year. Anything less than 7-5 is, for me, a lost season for Shane Beamer for what he's been able to do. Because if there's a quarterback, because here's the thing, Dave, the quarterback is what does it for me. Like Spencer Rattler, he did a good job of coming on in and kind of setting a tone for a new culture in Columbia. But there are very few players that I have seen that can take over games in college football right now the way Lenore Sellers can.
But do you what other position do you feel good about? Like really good about going into the year outside of quarterback? Like, in all honesty, not just a projection you're guessing.
The nickel corner position with Jalen Kilgore.
Okay, you're not winning any championships with just your.
You asked what position I feel good about. The nickel corner position with Jalen Kilgore.
That's one position. I'm saying like a unit. Like, that's one guy in the second.
I feel great about that position.
That's a cop-out answer there.
You said position. You
AKA, he can't answer it, folks.
You said position. Jalen Kilgore.
I'm saying like a unit is really how I'm saying.
Jalen Kilgore is going to be the best nickel quarterback in college football. Okay, I'm tired. You're tired. We've been going all day. We may or may not have a show on Thursday. There's things that we are discussing. If we do have a show on Thursday, I believe we're breaking down Tennessee next. Is that what's on the schedule?
Yep. T would be next.
We have 2 other games we're going to break down. I'm going to spoil one for you. It's going to be Oklahoma versus Michigan. We're going to talk about that game. What's game number 2? We'll discuss, Dave and I. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. If we don't, we're going to do it on Monday of next week. But for Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Like the video. Hit the ring notification. Subscribe to the channel so that way we can continue to talk college football. Make sure that you stay locked in because of Harrison and Chris are eventually going to go live after LSU and UCLA gets underway. Whenever that is at this point. Is it back on yet? I haven't checked.
It wouldn't shock me maybe if they pushed it to tomorrow.
They may be pushing it to tomorrow. So if they push it to tomorrow, check in tomorrow morning. We don't know what's going to happen, but make sure that you're following us on social media at SEC Unfiltered, at Dave Shumate SEC, and at Mr. Cole Thompson. Until next time, have a good start to your week. Make sure that you go ahead and say happy belated Father's Day from us here at SEC Unfiltered to somebody in your life. And as always, you only live life once, so go ahead and live it to the fullest. For Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Enjoy your Monday night. Enjoy the start of your week. Talk to you next time. Peace.